Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Chronicles, the Oklahoman's Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined today by Joe Mussatto. Joe, thank you very much for joining me here today.
Happy to be here, Scott.
All right, we're going to talk about Eric Morris. We're going to talk a little recruiting, maybe some other things. Been a crazy, I guess say probably 9-10 days now that we're at have been really off the charts. There was actually a football game in there somewhere at some point. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I forgot about that part of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird when I've always viewed the games as kind of the reward for all the work you do during the week of
hmm
football season. Hasn't been that way this season. It's been a very different year. But not at Stone Cloud today, obviously. But still appreciate all the viewers jumping in and watching the show here. Going to talk to you, Joe, because you got to go down to Denton and meet with young Eric Morris. And I want to get your impressions of your thoughts on him. You went down there for their regular season finale against Temple, which was a blowout victory, and got to talk to him and Drew Mestamaker. And let's start with Morris. Your initial takeaways from getting to meet him in person.
Yeah, well, I just want to preface this by saying, like, reached out to the North Texas folks obviously before going down there. That's how it works. They couldn't have been more accommodating, and we basically talked about, hey, we get this is a little uncomfortable. Like, you're still trying to win this game to go to the American Conference title game. But this is also the first time Eric Morris has been publicly available since taking the OSU job. So I don't know. I just heard from uh, a lot of people of like, well, how could you go down there and ask him that? They understood it. That's the business. Anyway, um, I was impressed with how Morris handled that. Like, clearly he, you know, it was an emotional time for him. He seemed to be most upset with he wanted to let his team know before they found out on social media. So he called a team meeting on that. It was a Tuesday, right? On a Tuesday, and he basically was like, "That's something I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life." But talked about how he's always valued being transparent and wanted to be upfront with his team. And I sort of appreciate the way he's gone about it. His players still seem to be behind him. Obviously, he's going to continue coaching them through the title game on Friday, and maybe into the playoff beyond that. But he was a little reluctant, I thought, to talk about OSU, was a little short on that because I think, he's standing there in the North Texas Stadium, like he wants to keep his attention, his focus uh, on that program and how much the folks in Denton have meant to him. And then with Mestamaker, I thought he was really mature in how he handled it, basically saying whether you believe it or not, that he hasn't given one thought to the portal, what he's going to do, what his future looks like. He's just trying to quarterback this team. So kind of an answer that you would expect from him. But all in all, I really enjoyed going down there. Had never been to a game there. Have passed it 1,000 times on the highway. And North Texas looked good. I mean, Mestamaker was slinging the ball all around. Caleb Hawkins had 4 touchdowns. This was the most prolific offense in the regular season, and they sure showed that against Temple.
What I saw some of the videos that you had from your interview with Morris. I've seen some other stuff that he's done throughout the year. Your thoughts on just kind of what he is like in the media spotlight.
Yeah, he's not Mike Gundy. We
But
we
who is?
went we went from maybe the most entertaining coach in college football to I would say, again, it was hard for me to judge because I haven't watched too many of his like media availabilities other than the one I went to, but he seems like a pretty serious guy, down to business. There's not too much fluff. I would say pretty focused, but um, everything you hear about him, he is determined. There's a plan. Like, this is where he wanted to be, and he's continued to move himself up the ranks. And then everything you hear that is obviously true from the outside about him as a quarterback developer and just an offensive savant and his ability to identify talent and to then groom that talent. But yeah, I'm curious. I expect we'll see a different version of Eric Morris when he's introduced in Stillwater than the one I saw in Denton. Um, but yeah, I guess still TBD on that front.
Yeah, I think that's fair because I do think when he meets with us on Monday in his formal introduction, I think we'll see a different side of him. And then as we get into the season or spring, even, I think we'll see, what he's really going to be like in a more calm situation. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, you went into a situation where it was going to be tough to get him to be entirely open
yeah.
and comfortable talking about what you were asking him. I'm just curious. We just had discussed you going down there before it happened. Were you at all concerned that North Texas might say no and say no, we're not gonna let you come into this game?
I guess I wasn't concerned. I knew it was a possibility, but if they said no, I'd be like, okay, fine, cool. No hard feelings. I
Right.
mean,
No.
it was the day after Thanksgiving, so I could have just stuck around here. But I basically said that they didn't want to do like one-on-one interviews to take away from the focus, but um, listen, this is an exciting time at North Texas. It's maybe their best season ever. So I think part of it is they want all the attention they can get. And they also know that part of North Texas having their best season ever means their coach is probably going to be gone. And understanding that he hadn't talked since taking the job, they knew he would be asked by, local reporters about it. And I just said, well, I kind of want to start to introduce this guy to our readers here in Oklahoma and to OSU fans, and they were totally cool about it. So I didn't get the chance to talk to Eric Morris off to the side, but hopefully in Stillwater, I'll come up to him and say, "Hey, I'm sorry. I was the annoying guy in Denton that came down, but hopefully we can start anew here." Not that he seemed upset or anything. He knows the deal, but
Yeah.
it'll be a more light situation.
Yeah, I've been pleased with how this has gone all the way around. Morris, I think, has handled it exceptionally well. OSU folks handled it the way that I think they needed to, and the North Texas people that are not coming with Eric up here, I think they handled it the appropriate way as well. So I've been we obviously college football fans have seen how these things can get contentious if you're if not handling the right mindset. So been really pleased with how that has all gone.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll add, I talked to a bunch of fans, and including to some of the parents of players on the team, and they could not have just been more high on Eric Morris, and bittersweet was the word that everyone used because they are so appreciative of what he's done for North Texas, but losing the guy sucks. Obviously, you don't know what that means, for some of the players on the roster or the program moving forward, but I think because Morris left it in such good position, you've got a guy in Neil Brown that I think is really worth being exciting about. I know you know, maybe didn't meet expectations at West Virginia, but it's not like he did a terrible job. He's a really good coach, offensive mind. So I'm pulling for North Texas just because I feel like anytime you go down there, it's like you know this is cool. It's smaller scale. They didn't have a lot of fans there. It was Thanksgiving break, but it seems like he's leaving the place and leaving the program in a good place, which isn't always possible and isn't always an intention of the coach who's leaving.
Yeah, and it'll obviously we'll see what happens with the transfer portal and how many guys he chooses to bring along. Yesterday was signing day, and they brought 7 guys that had been committed to North Texas and signed them at Oklahoma State, and so that'll obviously be something. And but truth of the matter is Neil Brown was going to want to build the program in his within
Yeah.
his mold as well. So I don't know that it's necessarily a huge issue for him to lose out on some commitments, but you got to have players. So I understand if there's some frustration down there, but it is what it is. This is just kind of the world that the college football has become now. So. With that, you and I think you've come on the podcast at least twice, and we've talked about the coaching search and your variety of lists that you did throughout the process. I meant to go look it up. Do you remember where Eric Morris was on the list? I'm assuming he was on the Group of 5 head coaches list, which would have been what, your second list out of the 5 that you did?
Yeah, I'll buy some time here and look that up. But
Because if
he
I remember
was
right, Alex Golis showed up on the Oklahoma connections list, which was your first one.
he
So,
did. So my group of 5 list, Golish was actually on that one. I had
was
Summerall first, even
Mhm.
though even then that seemed far fetched. I had
Right.
Golish second, and then I had Eric Morris third.
Okay.
However,
Hmm.
not to toot my own horn, Scott, but I did a updated, like, after the fact, once all the lists were out. Okay, here are
Hmm.
my 5 favorites now. I crossed off Summerall just because it didn't seem likely, and Morris was number 1 there, just because the more you looked into it, the more you thought about a potential package deal with bringing a quarterback aboard. And the Big 12 connections, the Texas connections, he just made a lot of sense. So, um, it sounds like Morris and Golish were right there, and I don't think they could have gone wrong, and I don't think they did go wrong. This is a great hire, at least from perception. You never know how it's going to go, but yeah, I really like it.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question. At this point, if I asked you to grade this hire and the job that Oklahoma State and Chad Weiberg did, what grade would you give them right now?
I gave them an A minus, and first I had an A, but then I was like, okay, I'm not. I because I was comparing it to other hires of Power 5 jobs, and I'm like, no one is going to get an A plus. That'd be like if, I don't know, Nick Saban came out of retirement and joined somebody. For as awful as the situation was, I gave LSU an A. For Lane Kiffin, and I think I did for Virginia Tech as well, with James Franklin. But I had the Golesh hire, the Morris hire, uh, and the Summerall hire all in the same range.
Mhm.
I think you could justify an A. I mean, this is, as far as what was available, I think OSU did the best they could. Um, and I don't want to make it hinge too much on who he brings with him. But if you do bring a guy like Mestamaker in, A plus is all around, I'd say.
Yeah, so I was in the A minus range as well,
Mm-hmm.
in kind of a little bit of a wait and see mode. Uh,
Yeah.
Yesterday, I my tone changed just a bit, so I'm going to go up to an A
Yeah.
based on the details of Eric Morris's contract that came out yesterday afternoon. 3.8 million on a 5-year deal with $100,000 raises. So obviously he's probably not going to be still on that contract by the time it ends. He'll probably get a raise. Well, if you're Oklahoma State, you hope you're having to give him a raise at some point because he's winning football games. But I thought that was I expected it to be in the 4.5 to 5 million a year range. So I think that's uh, uh, almost a steal, really, to get a guy like this at that level. And obviously, if he wins, you're going to have to pay him more. But I think that's really great value. You compare it to what you were paying Mike Gundy, your $3 million a year that is now available for paying assistants and your revenue sharing and NIL budgets. And I think that makes a big difference in the program you're able to build. So I think Weiberg did an excellent job, and so I bumped the grade up to an A, and A plus is absolutely possible with where they're at right now.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that number came in quite a bit lower than I thought it
Yeah,
would as well, just because we're seeing crazy numbers across college football.
exactly.
And I know the SEC is different, but, so I had so much kind of grouped Morris and Golish together during this OSU search. And I think Golish is making like 7 million annually at Auburn.
Hmm.
Um, so if you look at the value proposition of that, I think OSU did great.
Yeah.
Now, if you're listening to this, you might think, well, that's a sizable raise from what Eric Morris was making at North Texas, and that's true as well. But sometimes, this is dependent on what the market is. So I think OSU again did a phenomenal job, and I assume he's going to bring some staff with him. You've written about Raj Murdy, the GM, um, who's already getting started and who probably had a impact on the proceedings of yesterday and is already getting going. So yeah, I mean, it, as far as we judge presidents by like the first 100 days, the first 10 days or whatever this is of Morris, he's hit the ground running.
Yeah, he has. Going into, I was sitting at the men's basketball game on Tuesday night and trying to prepare myself for what was coming Wednesday, and I just had no idea what it was going to be. By the end of the night on Wednesday, or on Tuesday, it was pretty clear that they had 3 guys committed that we knew about. 2 from the original class, that the holdovers from the Gundy era, and 1 flip that had announced coming over from Wake Forest. And other than that, we had no clue what was going to happen. And for them to put together a signing class of ultimately 15 guys when they got Caden Jones from Jinx at the end of the day, I was pretty impressed. I have no idea how good a lot of these guys are. I don't know a ton about very many of them. I spent a lot of time yesterday on Huddle watching highlights as much as I could. But so we'll see. I mean, any recruiting class, the grades really don't come out for 3 or 4 years. But the fact that they were able to put this class together, and I mentioned 7 guys that were with them at North Texas, but they had some other guys that they flipped from other schools. They had 1 uncommitted guy that they brought in. So they did some pretty impressive work. Were you as surprised as I was, Joe, to see them bring in a 15-player class yesterday?
Yeah, if you said that you didn't know what to expect, I was somewhat south of that and being totally clueless on what was going to happen. I think getting Caden Jones at the end of the day was like the cherry on top of a great day, getting him back, committed. Um, I'm like you. I don't know, what any of these guys are, but I am curious about. I mean, I feel like Eric Morris deserves the benefit of the doubt when he finds a quarterback. And the kid from Arizona is not very highly recruited. It doesn't appear to be, but do you know anything about him?
I don't know a ton. I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn about him as we speak. But I mean, we're gonna test this theory on Eric Morris right away with this kid, because as of yesterday morning, this kid had 3 Division I offers, and 2 of them were from Eric Morris, North Texas, and then Oklahoma State. His only other offer was Northern Iowa, as far as what's listed publicly. Maybe there were some others that don't make it out there into the On3 and 247 Sports databases. But I went and watched the kid's film, and like the 3rd or 4th play of on his Huddle highlights, he throws a 65-yard. Like, I went back, guys, because I had to count how far the ball went in the air, and it went 65 yards in the air on a dime to a kid. And then he had another one that was 55 yards right after that. So definitely some arm talent to work with.
Mm-hmm.
6 feet, 185 pounds, not a big dude, but looks athletic and moves around, threw the ball on the run from what I saw. So, trying to learn as much as I can about him. Going to try to get him on the phone at some point here soon, so I can get to know him a little bit too. And but with Eric Morris's track record, you like you said, you kind of give him the benefit of the doubt that he knows what he's looking for here.
Yeah, it's kind of unlike him to go after a current starting high school quarterback too. So yeah. I mean, give him the benefit of the doubt on that, especially with his developmental track record. So yeah, it's exciting. And I think the portal, about a month from now, a little less than a month from now, it opens January 2nd, could be even more exciting.
It's going to be wild. Obviously, we're seeing Raj Murdy getting to work really quickly with this recruiting class. They backed off with some guys who had been committed. based on what I've been able to learn about some of those guys, basically they didn't want to take guys that they didn't really have any kind of relationship with, and that was kind of their message to some of those guys, which is understandable as you're trying to build the culture of your program to make sure that you've got a certain type of player,
Hmm.
in relationally, that you understand what kind of kid you're getting. So I get it. It's tough. I've some of these kids I've talked to multiple times, and you hate to see that for those guys, and you hope that they land somewhere, that they're happy. So good luck to those kids. But you got to understand the business of this game right now, and it's just kind of the way it is. So, but off on a tangent there. The next couple of weeks, as far as the self scouting that will go on within the 75 or so guys, 70 guys that have eligibility remaining that are on the current roster, plus all the guys that are in the portal already, and the guys that are coming into the portal over the next several weeks. That's going to be the most important thing in building this roster for Eric Morris and Raj Murdy. That's going to be their primary focus. And you knew coming in that this was going to be a heavy portal roster as far as how you're putting it together. So we'll see how many guys are kept around, and we'll get to I'll ask you another question about that here in a minute. But I think that's going to be the key to really figuring out the capabilities of this staff and what they can put together. So, all right, Joe, I think it's time for the old Stone Cloud six pack here. So we're going to start with with one that, shoot, by the time people are watching this, they might already know the answer to this, but we're recording this on Thursday morning. Friday night, North Texas and Tulane play in the American Conference Championship. Easy question: will North Texas win, Joe?
They will win. And some of that's wishful thinking on my part, just because, um, it's just cool to see what they've built down there. But it's going to be a great game as far as like
Yeah.
competitive conference title games. You can't ask for much better than this. You've got the Florida coach against the OSU coach, with the winner going to the college football playoff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Uh, it'd be fun if they end up playing against each other again sometime soon for
Yeah.
a chance at the college football playoff, or in the college football playoff,
I think
perhaps.
bragging rights should be on the line here between the Gators and the Cowboys.
Oh, I absolutely think so. A couple of bonus questions. These are not related to the official Stone Cloud six pack. Number one, you think it's better or worse for OSU if North Texas wins?
Oh, I think it's way better. I'm writing about this today. I just think yesterday confirmed to me that it's way better, because the concern is, if he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, trying to balance two jobs, like, you know, let's just hope he loses so he can get started at OSU right away. They've already gotten started. They proved that on signing day, with the staff and the work they were able to do. This isn't like the old days of college football where everything funnels through the head coach. There's a lot of help now. And I think that, given that, him leading North Texas to the college football playoff and being on a national broadcast, and every time the camera pans to him, they might mention OSU and how he's taken over that job. And OSU needs a win. They haven't literally, they need a win, but they also need like a perception win, because it's not gone well the last 2 years. It's been terrible. No one's thought about OSU, and if they have thought about them, it's been in a negative light. But now you see this up and coming coach who's leading this awesome offense, with a program that's never been here before. And then if you're just kind of a casual viewer, you're thinking, oh, that guy's going to Oklahoma State. That's pretty cool. So as far as unpaid advertisement goes, I think it'd be huge, for OSU if North Texas made the playoff.
I agree. Same. Second bonus question: if they lose on Friday, do you think Eric Morris immediately comes to Stillwater and gets to work? Do they stick around for a bowl game? Is my question.
I don't think so. So the question was asked of him, and maybe he's answered it since, of, is he going to stick around for the postseason? And he basically said yes, but it was initially reported that he'll stick around for the conference title game and the playoffs. So if it's just a bowl game, I kind of don't think he would stick around, but I don't have any information on that. You'd probably know more than I would.
No, I don't. But I'm with you, especially now that North Texas has a head coach. I think you kind of walk away and let Neil Brown go to work and start figuring out his plans for what's ahead. So
Yeah.
that's my gut feeling on that as well. Number two, back to the official Stone Cloud six pack. Number two, will Drew Mestemaker be at OSU next year?
I'm gonna say yes. These two guys are just tied together in a way that not every quarterback and even offensive coordinator or head coach are, just because of the unlikelihood that Mestemaker ever made it to this point. With basically, long story short, someone sends Morris Mestemaker's tape and says, "Hey, you ought to give a look at this guy," and Morris finds out, well, there really isn't any tape on him because he hasn't started at quarterback since he was a freshman. So, um, but comes in and I think he's like their fifth string basically, and um, it's I think Mestemaker owes a lot to Morris and vice versa. Without Mestemaker, maybe Morris doesn't get this job. Um, so I think the strongest likelihood is that he does follow Morris to Stillwater. But I mean, who knows, Scott? I mean, there might be a bigger program, whether it's a big time SEC program or Big Ten, that just promises him a whole lot, maybe more than OSU could, and that speaks louder than your relationships with your coach. But ultimately, I think OSU is going to do everything possible to get him, assuming he does want to leave. And yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario. Sorry for being long-winded there.
Nope, that's all right. I would agree though. I think unless dollar figures come into play, and it could be it could be significant with what he's done this year. So we'll see. But I think that kind of understanding Morris the way that he does, and being able to see the big picture, I think there's a really good chance that he's at Oklahoma State. Number three in the Stone Cloud six pack, we talked about the OSU roster, roughly 70 guys that have eligibility left at this point. My question, will half of those guys stay? Will there be 35 guys off of this current OSU roster still on next year's roster?
Yeah, I'm gonna go the under on that one. And I think, part of it is what you were talking about earlier. Like, if you don't have a relationship with some of these players, it's hard to commit to them. It's hard for them to commit to you. I think a lot of times a new coach comes in, he wants his own team. I mean, obviously there's guys on this OSU squad who are going to come back, who can play, who they probably want to stay and be part of this moving forward. That's a lot of players with eligibility left, but it would also be a lot of players to come back. So I'm gonna take the under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go just barely over. I think I almost put the number at 40, and I was like, that's kind of the number that I think that they maybe where they end up. I'm just guessing.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea how Morris and his staff are going to view these guys, and they might get in here and realize that the roster was more talented than the record suggested, and they like some of these guys more than you might think that they do. So who knows? It's all pure speculation at this point, but it feels like it's going to be in that probably 30 to 40 range is about the most guys that are going to be sticking around. We've already seen a few OSU guys announce that they're going to go in the portal, which they can't do for a month here. But it's going to be a very busy transfer portal window, and really even before that, because guys are going to be making decisions and announcements and all of that way before the portal actually opened. So,
Yeah,
all
and
right.
some of it's going to be a numbers game. It's like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
how many guys they think they could get out of the portal, and
Mhm.
will change how many players, can come back or they want to come back.
Yeah, and this staff is working with a much bigger budget for players than they're used to, but they understand value, and that's something that's very important. You go read things that Raj Murdy has said in interviews, and he talks a lot about that. So understanding how much you're willing to pay for a certain type of player. So it's going to be really important to them to kind of assign those values to the guys that are here and the guys that are in the portal. So, all right, with that brings us to the draft to wrap up this edition of the Stone Cloud Six Pack. And because I don't know that we'll get to talk to you again before Christmas, it's Christmas movie season here at my house. My son's been fired up ever since Black Friday. I think we've already watched one particular movie. I won't tip anything off in my draft board, but we've watched one particular movie 3 times already, and it's showing up in theaters this weekend. We're going to go watch it again. So, but with that, the draft is Christmas movie characters. So you can just go for a specific character. You don't have to take the whole movie. So with that, the first pick is to you, Joe.
It's very smart of you to not tip me off to your board. You did this when you had me on the last time, and I stole your pick.
You absolutely
you've
did, yes.
you've wised up, Scott. My first pick, I'm taking Clark Griswold.
Very nice.
I love Christmas Vacation. I watch it every year. It still makes me laugh. And I could honestly do a list of this where I'm just choosing characters out of that one movie and be content with my full list. But given that he's the star, I'm going with Clark Griswold.
Well, that was the movie, but that was not that is not the character that's at the top of my list.
Okay.
So my first pick, I'm going with Cousin Eddie.
Oh man, he was number 2.
Absolutely huge Cousin Eddie fans around here. I actually bought a Cousin Eddie's RV inflatable that I have in my front yard right now as we speak. So very excited about that addition to the Christmas decor this year. So that'll be my first pick. Round 2, back to you, Joe.
You have any neighbors like Todd and Margot?
I don't, thankfully.
Okay.
I've got very friendly neighbors who do not have a problem with any of my decorations.
Okay, I'm going to. Oh man, you've really thrown me off here, Scott. I'll go with Kevin McAllister.
That's strong.
I love Home Alone. I think I like Home Alone 2 even better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just classic. So Kevin McAllister.
It's fantastic. He was. I debated him number 1, but I couldn't bump cousin Eddie off the top spot. So he was number 2 in mine as well. But so that leaves me going on down my list, and I'm gonna go with Buddy the Elf, another movie that is huge here in my household. So just a fantastic movie, fantastic character, peak Will Ferrell right there.
Yeah, can't go wrong there. With my third pick, I'm gonna go Scott Calvin, who's the Santa from Santa Claus, and I grew up watching that movie every year. I still get a kick out of it. Tim Allen's great in that, and so I'm going Scott Calvin.
Very strong. All of those movies, I think there were 3 of them ultimately, maybe. That they did. All of them very good. And yes, Scott Calvin was great. That was another one, particularly in the younger years. My son's younger years, it was really big. We haven't watched it as much lately now that he's 16 and kind of moving on to some other things. Now this leaves me with a really, really tough decision, because I'm very torn. I've got about 3 different movies that I really like a lot. Part of me wanted to go a little bit old school and pick some other less obvious ones, but I can't do it. I'm gonna have to go with Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
Okay.
Specifically the Jim Carrey one. I like all the Grinches, but specifically Jim Carrey as the Grinch is my favorite. I randomly quote lines from that movie that are so obscure that nobody has any clue that I'm actually quoting the movie itself. So I a big fan of Jim Carrey in general, but him as the Grinch was fantastic. One of my favorite Jim Carrey movies, period. So,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I got really close to taking John McClane. Had I done that, Joe, would you have allowed that choice of John McClane from Die Hard as a Christmas movie character?
Yeah, I've never felt strongly about this. I think that would be allowed. Can I give my honorable
Oh,
mention?
of course, absolutely.
So the Wet Bandits slash the Sticky Bandits
Right, right.
from Home Alone. It's just pure slapstick comedy. I mean, Joe Pesci and I don't know the other actor's name from
Daniel
those.
Stern.
Yeah, it's just like in Home Alone 2 where Kevin's throwing the bricks off the top of the house and he's just looking up and just getting drilled one by one in the forehead. He'd be dead after the first one, and he takes like 5 of them. But those paired together, I love those guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. On the topic of Die Hard as a Christmas movie, I feel much the same way about it that I do. Sort of, it's sort of the reverse of like I pretty much view all scary movies as Halloween movies, even
Yeah,
though
that's a good way to
Christmas
look at it.
at Halloween, and it's just kind of, it is what it is. Christmas is a very important theme. Family is a very important theme in throughout that movie. So I'm all in on Die Hard as a Christmas movie. I'm not gonna fight anybody about it, but I have no problem with it.
I'm so glad that you guys have watched Christmas Vacation a number of times already because I have yet to watch it, but I will be doing that soon.
My favorite story about watching that movie was I saw it in theaters in 1989.
Oh wow.
Um, I My family went to the theater as a whole group to go see. I believe it was Little Mermaid. It was a Disney movie, and me and my stepbrother, who's a couple years older than me, were like, we don't really want to watch Little Mermaid, so we're just going to go in this other one over here. And we ended up watching Christmas Vacation, and it was phenomenal. And I've been such a huge fan of that movie ever since. So.
Good stuff.
Typical Gen X problem. I've owned it on VHS, on DVD, and now I have to stream it, of course, to watch it.
Yeah, I can still picture the VHS tape where he's
Mhm.
like got the Christmas lights around him
Right.
and getting
Yep.
electrocuted. That's good.
Yes, exactly. All right, Joe. Good stuff. Thank you very much for taking time to come in and give us some insight about your visit down to Denton to get to know Eric Morris. And we'll obviously have lots of content regarding Morris next Monday when he is formally introduced as Oklahoma State's coach. But that is going to do it for today on the Cowboy Chronicles. Thank you for watching.